shoulders.
Yes, did you feel that at home? One man that knows plenty about Steve Matai's shoulder is strength and conditioning coach at the Manly Sea Eagles Rugby League Club in Sydney, Donny Singe, and he joins us now on the panel. How are those shoulders of Steve, Donny?
Oh, kia ora, Jay. Steve's shoulders are the same as they've been for years. They're just made of steel, and he just loves injecting them into the opposition.
What is it with Polynesian players? What do they bring to the table as far as the modern game is concerned?
Look, I think something they've always brought to the game, even regardless of you know the sort of belief that the Islanders are big and strong and aggressive. I think the way they play the game is the way they literally love to play, and you only have to go to the islands or wherever to see them literally just having a muck around. They even laugh physically, and they slap each other. So when it gets to a game, we have this great benefit of having these men go out there and actually truly enjoy the physical contest of the game.
So how do you mould these Islander boys in the gym and be fit for the park? Like, I know we're genetically a little bit different. Yeah, look, they're very genetically, with the DNA, there's a blessing there with the natural size of the men. But I think we should always remember that that physical size is exactly the same as a big vehicle. The engine and the fuel system has to match that, and all the little springs and extras and screws and bolts have to have a good intensity and strength about them. So you get this big lad, and then you literally build him from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And until he's ready to have a real consistency about the aggressive way and that he makes contact.
So, Donny, can you give us an idea, a day in a life, how you operate during the day?
Yeah, well, I'm very fortunate to be part of a very elite coaching crew of men, and they my contribution to that is my position as a head strength and conditioning coach. What I do is I oversee all the physical training of the men. Quite literally, Jeff Tuvey, who's the head coach, has a plan, a game plan and an action for each player in the squad, and they all have KPIs and expectations of what they have to bring to the game. Jeff and the other coaches quite diligently map that out, and then it's my job with the assistance of the sports science department and my speed coaches and various consultants to come in and literally shape those men into what he needs on the field. So my morning will start with getting to work. I'll be with my rehab trainer, working over with the physio, finding out who's training, what levels they're training, which intensities we can take them to, and then what we call the main crew, which are all the uninjured players, just the standard crew that of the team. And then I'll work with the coach on what he's putting into the actual skills session, where he wants his intensities. I'll have input into where they should be. He'll tell me exactly what he wants from particular players and what intensities he wants to reach during the sessions. That's heart rates, speeds, contacts. I'll work with my sports science manager, and he'll actually measure those for me and constantly stay in communication with me through the training session, and let me know exactly where we are at all times live, and then we can make sure we stay within those boundaries or push them to where we need to go. And generally with the men, my main job is to keep that crew together, keep all those men together, moving consistently through the day, getting to where they're supposed to be on time, even working with some of the problems that they might be having at training at the time with physically or in other areas. And my day is pretty much taken up with working very closely with my coaches and my players.
Donny, you're here in the NRL now at Manly, born in Dunedin, bottom of the South Island?
No, Porirua.
In Porirua?
Yep.
You went through Dunedin?
Went through Dunedin.
You want to give us a bit of a rundown, I guess, on your pathway from there to the Northern Beaches in Sydney?
Yeah, no, you're going to catch my age because it took a while. But no, look, I was born in Porirua. I come from a family of seven kids, and Dad came back from his third tour of Vietnam and said Porirua was too rough, so we moved out of there and went down south to Dunedin. And I was raised down there. All four sons joined the military, and the daughters went to nursing and education. And so that's where I went out of Dunedin into the military, came out of the military pretty much straight into the fitness industry. That was back in the at the end of the 80s, 89. Overseas, did a lot of work still in the fitness industry, got qualified, strength and conditioning, got qualified in the, way back then it was the Reebok tours and things like that, so it was, I know you're looking, I know you want to ask about spandex, but it was in then, and then somebody's still wearing it I think, but and then I went from there, and I was very fortunate because I was able to be picked up by different coaches and different sporting professionals who recognised some skills in myself that were able to help them to be successful. I had a very good, strong campaign through those years here in Sydney, working with ice hockey and tennis, beach volleyball, and rugby union. And then I was literally picked up for rugby league, and then Des Hasler brought me into the Manly Sea Eagles. And I went from there, and luckily for me, Jeff Tuvey kept me on when Des moved on, and that's where I've been for all these years. And
it sounds like you've done everything, but when you were growing up as a kid, what did you want to do? Was there one thing that you wanted to do, or did you grow up saying, I want to do everything I can?
I wanted to make sure I did what Mum and Dad said, otherwise it's going to be a long day. Look, I think growing up in Dunedin, there was and because my family on the male side always had a very, very strong military background, all the men, all the way through. And I think I was always destined to go down that track. I certainly wasn't the most academic young man, but I'm very proud to say that as the years went on and I grew older, I definitely came about a turn where I went down that track of making sure that I had my skills and had all my relevant qualifications and that to carry on to where I was going to.
What is your advice, especially to those who are watching this right now in the islands, on how to strengthen themselves? I mean, for example, how young should you be before you start sort of lifting weights, and also nutrition?
Yeah, nutrition. Nutrition really is very much a social influence when you're a child or when you're a young person, because you're living in families and especially in the islands. You really can't have eating one way while others eat the other. However, what you can do is you can go online or you can go to areas and learn about what are the good foods, what are the raw foods, and the Pacific Islanders actually always have had very good healthy diets. It's just that as we start to mix the different cultures together, I don't know where the Chinese sauce came from, but that popped in there, and then I don't know where the fried skin came on the chicken, but that popped in there too. And so I think especially with and you only have to look back through the histories and look at the past cultures of Pacific Islanders. Very healthy, very strong, and and very, very noble-looking people, and they obviously through their lifestyle, healthy lifestyles, fishing, running, moving, doing things physically, relaxing, sleeping, and not working under extreme stress. You start looking like me and him, but
And what about your advice on weight training?
Weight training that is also a very important one. It's very simple, until you've turned around 18. There's no need to go lifting what we call absolute strength, really heavy weights, really, pounding the weights so that the biggest fear is that the bone density in your growth bones, will close, your fascial plates, and that not so much that you'll stop growing, but the fact that once that density is complete, then your skeleton is at its maximal size, and so while you might grow bigger, it's not a recommended process because of your ligaments and your tendons. You can actually supersede parts of your anatomy through growth or development rather than the natural things like your ligaments and that. And that's one of the problems you have with over supplementation or doing anything external to the natural growth process. But the answer to your question is, if you are going to be a professional player, if you are, a professional sportswoman, professional sportsman, there's going to be a time where you have to literally decide and map out what your body's going to do. And it will be essential for you to have that strength and to develop that capacity and that fine quality of muscle that can hold its muscle glycogen and can actually, provide for you the energy and the force which is going to take to compete at your level. And that's both for male and female. But personally for me, unless you are singled out to be one of those champions as such, or somebody who's going to definitely follow that as a way of life, then I wouldn't be bothering with heavy weights or anything like that until I was about 18.
Another initiative that Donny and Nige have been actively involved in, which also included the Australian Federal Police, is cyber safety. They took a trip to Samoa and Tonga late last year to talk to the high school kids about internet security and online safety. And here's what unfolded.
The greatest thing is that we're getting the message across, and a lot of kids understand. A lot of them are starting to get mobile phones and get access to online internet through Facebook and all that, Twitter. And the best thing about it is that at the end, kids are saying, we enjoyed this workshop.
When police get up or teachers get up and talk about these things, kids will listen to some of it and others they'll just tune out. Whereas if they've got someone they look up to or aspire to be, their eyes are open, their ears are open, and they're instantly engaged.
I think the kids were quite engaged and took on board a lot of things that we had to say, and their questions were quite kind of reflected that.
We've been working with the NRL for a few years now on their rookie camps in providing education around social media and reputation management, thinking before they post, so considering what they're doing before they do it. And secondly, really considering what it is that they're putting out there in the world, what messages they're sending, how they're treating other people, because it's those things that they put out there that will come back to them. And they could be good things, they could be bad things, but they really need to make that choice, what mark they're going to leave on the internet, what digital shadow they're going to leave.
Donny, we obviously had some good times over there in Tonga and Samoa trying to help the community, use our position, I guess, to try and encourage a lot of the people in the Pacific to stay safe online. Your thoughts about going back to the Pacific and sharing 8 days away as a roomie?
Look, sharing a room with you was...
I mean, I'm still having nightmares, but can you tell me what's
Well, you were hardly there, but... No. But, that was a fantastic time for me, especially because I hadn't been back to... I hadn't been back to the islands since I was in the military. And I found that quite honestly, there was a gap between my understanding of the Pacific Islands. I'd lost a little touch with the Pacific Island people. And when I went home and spent that time, or when I say home, I mean with the Polynesians, spent that time there, it was fantastic. It was just great to see Tonga as Tonga, and great to see Samoa as Samoa. And I thought the thing that really got me was the way that the people embraced us when we came in and wanted to teach them about these issues of cyber safety, and also how well advanced they were in that area. Yeah,
and a lot of the mobile phones. Obviously, everyone in the islands with mobile phones now, they're connecting to the internet. Yeah. Just trying to keep them safe, I guess.
Yeah, it is a very important issue, keeping them safe. But that awareness, one of the good things for me was seeing that awareness and recognising that the young people and the Polynesian communities were quite advanced in their approach to it.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh yeah, well. You've gone through the ranks and trying to help all these Islander boys go through the system, and when you first started you probably had a handful of Islanders, and now there's so many Islanders going through, especially in the NRL. Do you see that just growing every year?
That is definitely growing every year, and it's something that's great for the game in terms of the natural footballers, because they really do have a peripheral vision and the way they play the game. What I do love seeing though is that the elements of a Polynesian player, once you get down to the pure basics of fitness, the ability to get up and run and move and shift, and for me that's the favourite part of my training is having these big strong men come in and then literally saying to them, look, it's not necessary for you to be out there making your body bigger because it's big. We do have to make it firm so we have a good quality of lifting, and we do have to work on your phosphate, lactate, anaerobic and your aerobic systems, because you're a big man, or even with some of the women who like to play in the touch footy, and that it really is the energy systems that the Polynesians need to work very hard at.
And do you think that's a mental thing?
Well, yeah, very much so. I mean,
so how do they get over that?
I'm sitting with two elite athletes now, and you know it. Consistency. I find that working with the Polynesian athletes, consistency and keeping that same amount of energy flowing all the time in the sessions, and then keeping that variety. And from what variety is, what I mean is the actual content of the session should always have good variety.
And I agree with that.
But the actual intensity and the actual amounts of these sessions should be very consistent, so that that work ethic is developed as they train. And I tell you can't go wrong after that. And I've got the proof in the pudding is quite a few of the Polynesian athletes that I work with, extremely fit. Stevie Matai, Brent Kite, and the Hopoates.
What are they like in the yo-yo?
On the yo-yo, we don't do the yo-yo.
Oh,
no, we see. I can't.
Test or whatever it is.
No, on the beep test, well. Yeah, no, he's pretty good on the beep test. Though he'll get up there around that. He'll get up there around that. He'll get up there around that 12.4 before I start looking to see where his feet are. And most of them try to stay in with Matty Bellin, but he's the he's the leader out there at the moment.
We talk about elite athletes, and obviously we are actually very lucky to have the hand that proverbially rocks the cradle. That's another show for us today. Donny, thank you very much for joining us.